Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler here from the Keep Pounding podcast. Gonna bring you another video today. Um, Going over some signings we've had since I've seen you last, and I want to kind of dive into some of the players that we've interviewed so far, both formal and informal, at the combine. Thanks to Panthers culture via Twitter, they've given some insights on who we've talked to and interviewed so far. So we're going to talk about some of those players, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, and where we think they're going to be possibly drafted this coming draft this April, um, and give my thoughts on it. Eh, All right. So since I saw you guys last, I didn't think that the Bengals are going to sign T. Higgins. So T. Higgins signed a 4-year, $150 million contract. The first 2 years are guaranteed. They also re-signed Jamar Chase. He agreed to a 4-year, $161 million deal that includes $112 million guaranteed. The Bengals will spend $125 million per year on the three of them, as far as Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. So the 2025 salary cap is just under $280 million. It's 279 million point two. So again, with Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, these three players now account for 44% of the cap. For the next 2 years, 44% of the cap. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think this is a dumb move, not because of the talent, but you cannot allocate 44% of your salary cap to three players. Now, T. Higgins is a great player. Jamar Chase, elite talent, top three in the NFL. You have Joe Burrow, top five, arguably top three, elite quarterback in the NFL. You pay those guys. But T. Higgins, I don't know if you allocate that much money to a wide receiver, too. I just don't think it's smart business. Now, or not smart, it's not a way to really build your team. Like quarterback, number one, defensive end, and then you can start talking about linebacker, receiver. I just don't think you do that. You allocate that much money. So between Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it's 4 years, 176 million. Bro, that's a lot. Or sorry, 276 million, something like that. Um, but that's a lot of money. Um, I'm not sure if this is a GM move or an ownership move. Um, but one thing I do know is that the front office better be the best in the league when it comes to identifying, drafting, and developing players because they won't be making any other big splashes the next several years in free agency, in my opinion. So the Bengals better be prepared to score 35 plus points a game because, and they're going to have to draft all defense. And this is a year where, there's a lot of good defensive players, but I just don't think that's how you build your team. We'll see. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I don't think this is how you build your team. All right. So we re-signed Christian Rosebaum. So Christian, they added a linebacker from the Rams to compete, I believe, to compete for inside linebacker. He's 28 years old. Um, Via John Ellis on Twitter, he's had 11 starts, 78% snap share, 133 combined tackles, 15th among all linebackers. That's a lot. His specialty is tracking and stopping the run. Coverage is a work in progress. Some solid moments in the run game as well. So, one, I like this because you're adding competition to the linebacker room, but you're also adding depth. So last year you had Trevor Wallace and Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson was out with a injury for the rest of the season, so it was really Trevor Wallace and Josie Jewell. and even Josie Jewell had some injuries. So I just feel like they, in my opinion, I said this in one of my other videos, that they needed, I believe my last video, that they needed to attack and add another linebacker, whether it's free agency in the draft. And I love what they're doing. They're adding depth, and I feel like a lot of these moves that the Panthers are making, yes, like some of them are starters, right? But we're also adding depth, um, which we need. I mean, we definitely on the defense, we saw that we were somewhat top heavy. We weren't even really top heavy on defense, but there was no depth. You saw a huge regression as far as how the defense played when you had starters out. So to me, this is a good signing, just adding depth to the defense. And then we signed wide receiver Dan Chisena. So Dan, he played with us last year. This is to me a depth player, special teams, a contributor. He's athletic and he has speed. He was a track athlete. He won gold in 100 meters and 200 meters in the 4 by 100 relay at the 2015 PIAA Class AAA Outdoor State Championship. I know it was a lot, but he's a speedster. He was with the Panthers in 2024. He He appeared in 6 games, recording 3 receptions for 37 yards, and it was his first catch in the NFL. And he's been on multiple teams, and he was the first. This is the first team that actually had some catches in a game. Now, I think the reason why they signed him is because we don't have a speedster in the locker room when it comes to receiver or special teams. So to me, this is just a body to add competition to that. I don't even think he's going to compete for receiver. I think it'll be special teams or practice squad. To me, it's just a body. Um, nothing more, nothing less, to be honest with you. Um, but I believe it was a 1 year deal. All right. And then Rico Dowdle. So Rico, this was one of my favorite and surprise signings as of late. So Rico signed a 1 year, $2.7 million guaranteed contract up to 6.25 million. Uh, this move follows his breakout season with the Cowboys last year, where he rushed for a little over 1,000 yards on 235 carries. He averages 4.6 yards per carry and scored 2 rushing touchdowns, adding 39 receptions for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. So you have a dual threat running back and a running back that's had over 1,000 yards last season. So again, Jonathan Brooks is out, injured with the ACL tear. He's not going to play next season, I don't believe. Even if we make a deep run in the playoffs or make the playoffs, I still don't think you bring him in. So now you're now allowing him to rest, and we have Rico that's going to contribute and help while he's resting. So I really like this. This now gives Dan um, a stronger running back room and 2 strong running backs. And so let's see if sorry, not Dan, Dan Canales actually be stubborn with the run, because again last year you had uh, Jonathan Brooks that was injured. You had Miles Sanders. Like it was kind of a thin running back room, and now adding him, you're really making a strength. And they may even add a running back in the draft. Who knows? But uh, this really, I think, takes pressure off of Bryce, and I think this really helps our running game. Um, but let's talk about an upgrade of Miles Sanders. This had to be such an easy decision with Miles not taking a pay cut. This guy's a dual threat running back. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. He's only 26 years old, and he's originally from North Carolina. He played college ball in South Carolina. Uh, but earlier, when he played with the Cowboys, he was more of a rotational player behind Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. And then when Zeke went out and then Tony Pollard went out, Rico took over, and he really, really played well for the Cowboys. But again, let's see if Canales will be stubborn with the run this year. He should be. And again, I really think this takes a lot of pressure off of Bryce and will help the defense rest a little bit too and have him stay off the field. So I really, really enjoyed this signing here. The other one player we signed was David Moore. So David Moore, he signed a 1 year deal. I don't think they have the details of the amount of the contract. It can't be that much. But to me, this is a solid depth wide receiver, at best wide receiver 4. He had some big moments, but he also had some crucial drops. Last year he had 32 receptions, 351 yards, 3 touchdowns. A lot of people on Twitter were really upset about this because everyone wants to see the big name, and I said in my last video, like it's not going to happen. Um, I understand, like I think every Panther fan can agree that we want Bryce Young to have more weapons, but at what cost? We're a growing team. We're not like the Texans where you put in um, oh my gosh, what's his name? The CJ Stroud. His name was slipping the line. So the Texans already had a solid team. You had CJ Stroud who plays well. Now they're adding more pieces because they believe in CJ Stroud, right? Um, we're still a growing team. We're not there yet. Like we still need another offseason, in my opinion. I think next offseason where you really see us make a big step. I think you'll see us make a big step this year, but we still have a lot of holes to fill and a lot of depth to fill as well. So we're heading in the right direction, but we can't fix everything in an offseason. You can't. We were last in the league 2 years ago. So we fixed the offensive line. Now we're fixing the defensive line, fixing the defense, and then it's going to be adding receivers. I think you will see us add another receiver in the draft. I don't think it'll be Ted McMillan, and I'll make a video about all that. Um, but again, like I think they still could possibly add a speedster in free agency, and I think that they will definitely draft a receiver. But this receiving group, it's not the best in the world, but it's not the worst in the world either. Like you saw Bryce Young make steps with this group. Again, I think no Panther fan is saying that we don't need another receiver. I think we do. But there has to be a right way of doing it and not giving up so much draft capital and money to get one. At least like right now. I mean, we already try to go for T Higgins, and I was like, about that. And I get like you know you it's okay to spend money on a big time player, but really with a receiver, it seems like you have to draft your receiver to get your number one. And this isn't the best receiving class right now. Um, I'll get in more depth with the receivers in later videos. We'll start knocking out like position groups and giving, kind of a consensus ranking of maybe top five or top 10 per position and actually go in depth with them. But this isn't a big receiver class. Um, but again, like I still think we're going to address it this off season or this draft, and we're going to address it next off season too. It's not going to be fully addressed this off season. You can't fix everything in one off season, guys. But I do like this signing here. Then, per my K, Yasha's deal originally was 2 years, $8 million. He signed last year. Will still end after the season, but will save the team roughly $1.6 million in cap space. So Yash, he didn't really play that great whenever he did take over a right tackle. He wasn't terrible, but it doesn't look like that the front office is going to put any resources in uh, picking up a tackle in free agency. But I do think that it's a strong possibility that we could get a tackle in the draft, and we're going to go over some players here in a bit. But again, he didn't play that well, and I think that uh, possibly you could have seen him get cut if he didn't take a pay cut. But I do like that Dan's doing this. Like if players that are not contributing, especially living up to their contract, you know, pay cut or cut. If you are developing or you are contributing more than you should, we're seeing Dan Morgan give more money to these players. And I think that's really going to help free agency, not just this year, but definitely next year and the years to come, because they see one, a growing team, but two, they see a GM that's willing to give money if you perform. So I like this move. Save some money for a little bit of money in cap space. Can't get mad at it. Okay, so we interviewed some players at the combine. We had some formal interviews and we had some informal interviews. So the formal interviews, you guys probably are aware of, like they're more of a structured and scheduled interview. You're allowed to interview 45 prospects and you're limited to 18 minutes. They're placed in the suites at Lucas Oil Stadium where they have the combine after workouts. But the main purpose of these interviews, obviously, want to know the player's football IQ, reviewing game film, get to know the player, the personality, the background. Do they fit within our system? Uh, but they can be asking questions again about X's and O's, personal history, hypothetical scenarios, um, informal interviews. They're more spontaneous discussions with the player, so more casual. They can be on the field over a meal or even at a train station. I heard like some of the coaches were meeting some players at a train station where they had to, where they would come and they would be dropped off at the stadium, and then when they're done, they would shower all that, go to the train station, and go back to their car. So they even had coaches out there at the train station talking to players while they're waiting for the train, um, where the players wait for drills and stuff. But there's no cap for the informal interviews. There's no cap in time as well, but typically they're roughly about 15 minutes. But with informal interviews, you're just trying to get a first impression. Maybe you're asking about an injury recovery, asking basic quick questions. You're not really deep diving in these interviews. And so we interviewed quite a bit. So here's a list of the prospects that we interviewed and talked to. A shout out to Panthers Breakdown via Twitter. Panthers Break D is the Twitter name. They give out a list on Twitter of each player and when Dave and Dan interview these guys. So shout out to them. But we're going to talk about each of these players. Again, their strengths, their weaknesses, and where I think they may be drafted at. So the first is Mason Graham. So Mason Graham, to me, I think there's no way that Travis Hunter falls to 8. Not going to happen. I don't even think this would happen, but I sure hope so. To me, this is the best case scenario for the Panthers. If this guy falls to 8, you run to the podium and hand in your card. So Mason Graham is 6'3", 320 pounds. At the combine, he weighed 296, 24 pounds lighter. Some of people, are like, oh, kind of a red flag. No. Turn on the film. This guy is a game changer. But I just don't. Some people are like, oh, it's going to hurt his stock. I'm like, it's not hurting his stock. The tape doesn't lie. Um, he was again played defensive tackle in Michigan for 2022 to 2024. He's played 39 games, 108 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. In 2024 alone, he had 45 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks with a career high 7 tackles against the upset in Ohio State. Uh, he's really explosive and quick. Uh, Graham's first step burst off the line is exceptional for a guy that weighs 320 pounds. He consistently beats interior offensive linemen with his initial acceleration, allowing him to disrupt plays in the backfield. This was evident in games like, again, Michigan beating Ohio State last year, where he overpowered blockers to stop the run. He has great leverage and power. At 6'3", he plays with a low pad level, giving him a leverage advantage against taller linemen. Combined with his natural strength, he can anchor against double teams and hold the point of attack, making him stout against the run. Uh, he's versatile across alignments in both 4-3 and 3-4. I think if we drafted him, he would be a defensive end in the 3-4 scheme. If he was if he was drafted by a team that's 4-3, I think you would see him as a defensive tackle. But Graham lined up everywhere from zero technique nose tackle to a 4-eye technique inside shade of the tackle in Michigan. This flexibility makes him, again, scheme versatile, fitting both 3-4 and 4-3 defenses. He has an extremely high motor and good work ethic, relentless energy, chasing plays sideline to sideline, and rarely you see him on tape take plays off. Coaches, analysts, his head coach call him a game wrecker, and he's just really praised for his competitiveness. And this is the guy I want on my team. He has a really strong football IQ. He shows strong pre-snap recognition and hand usage, oftentimes snaps to exploit blockers' tendencies. His ability to read and react quickly helped him rack up the 108 tackles. Some weaknesses. Some people say his arm length, listed at 6'3", with shorter than ideal arms. He can struggle to keep blockers off his frame once engaged. Longer limbed NFL guards might neutralize his leverage advantage if he doesn't win early in the rep. Uh, he does have a limited pass rush arsenal while effective as a bull rusher. His pass rush moves are underdeveloped, so I think with Evero, he could, develop a little bit more of a pass rush move. But he does rely heavily on power rather than counters or finesse, like swim or rip moves, which possibly could limit why he has like limited sack production, 9 sacks in 39 games against savvy NFL linemen, he'll need to expand his toolkit a little bit with his pass rush moves. He can have inconsistent hand placements. It's been noted that his hand usage can get sloppy at times, especially when fatigued. If his initial punch doesn't land cleanly, he sometimes loses control of the block, as seen in stretches against Oregon in 2024, where he was pushed back on passing downs. Um, Pass rush productivity, despite his disruption, his sacks totals are modest for a top prospect. Uh, but elite NFL interior rushers like Aaron Donald or Quinton Williams produce more in college, suggesting uh, some people think Graham's ceiling as a pass rusher might be lower than his run stopping impact, but I disagree. Um, he occasionally can be over aggressive. He has high motor can backfire, leading him to overrun plays or lose gap discipline. This you saw occasionally on tape, exploited by mobile QBs like Miller Moss at USC, uh, and I saw that on tape whenever he escaped the pocket when Graham over pursued. But to me, this guy's going to be in the top five. I don't see him passing the Jaguars, but you never know. And I hope that it does happen, but I just don't think it will happen. But that's Mason Graham. The other one is Jalen Walker. So Jalen Walker is a linebacker out of Georgia. This guy has been on a lot of mock drafts for us. This is, I would say, the highest uh, as far as like betting. This is the guy that's at the top of the list that I think Vegas is predicting that we're going to draft. Uh, but he had 61 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, passes batted, 2 fumble recoveries. He's explosive, very athletic. Um, he's versatile, playing both on edge and in coverage. He had a really good standout game against Texas. In Texas, he had 8 total tackles, all solo, 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 quarterback hurries. And he was actually named SEC Defensive Player of the Week for this game. And they were able to upset the number one ranked Longhorns, 30-15. Uh, Again, so his strengths, athletic and speed. He's a freak athlete. He ran a 4.5 at over 240 pounds. That's insane. Uh, but he can chase down ball carriers, cover tight ends or running backs in space, which is a rare trait for a linebacker, especially outside linebacker in 3-4. He's versatile. He played both off-ball linebacker and edge rusher. But in 2024, last year, he showed he could drop into coverage, stop the run, or rush the passer. He's explosive. His first step quickness and closing speed made him a pretty disruptive. He consistently beat offensive linemen off the snap, contributing to high sack and tackle for loss totals. Um, he has good football instincts. He's able to read plays, sniffing out screens, diagnosing run fits or timing blitzes, uh, which helps him make big plays. Physicality, he's got the strength to shed blocks and finish tackles, holding up well against the SEC offensive lines. Uh, some of the weaknesses I saw on his tape was pass coverage consistency. While again he's athletic enough to cover, he's not as polished in man-to-man situations against quicker receivers or shiftier backs. Uh, on his tape last year, you saw occasional hesitation and zone drops, uh, but he did improve throughout the season. I just think he needs a little bit of technique refinements, um, which I think he'll get with Evero. And his experience kind of worries me just a little bit, especially in the top eight, uh, with only having one full season as a starter. He has a really small sample size. He split time between roles earlier in his career, so he's not as seasoned as like some of these other prospects. He can over pursue at times, but it was definitely less frequent this past season than it was in 2023. Um, his size for an edge is 6'2". Like size for an edge is at 6'2", 245, 250 pounds, and he's slightly smaller than that. Like DJ Wanham and Jadeveon Clowney are 6'5", 255. Jalen Walker was 6'2", 240. So he can handle a little bit more bulk without. I think his frame can handle a little bit more bulk without losing speed. But I do think he'll be a top 10, top 15 pick. So this is a possibility that we could have. From all um, reports are saying is that the Panthers are really high on Jalen Walker, but there's a lot of good talent, especially the top, I would say 5, 6, 7 edge rushers, defensive ends, or linemen. It's just a matter of who fits in your scheme. But I really think edge rusher is going to be the pick that we get. I really think that. I really think that's who we're going to go after at that position with the 8 pick if we stay there. If we don't, that could change. Okay, Malachi Starks. So Malachi Starks is a safety for Georgia. He was actually a former high school track star. So Malachi is 6'1", 197 pounds. He had 77 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 interception, which was the season opener against Clemson, and 3 passes deflected. He's versatile. He can play free safety, drop down at nickel, or even crashing at the line against the run. He's very athletic, good in coverage and in the run, quick at recognizing trick and screen plays and being in good position to make the tackle. You can use him in blitz packages. Really good tackler. He can be physical, but I would like to see him be a little bit more physical. With the tape, like he would make good tackles, but I just based on his size and strength and speed, I would like him to be a little bit more physical. But he does have good skills. Uh, he can use his hands a bit too much, which could lead to some penalties that I saw on tape. Uh, but I think this guy will be picked in the 10s, 20s. I can see the Dolphins picking him up due to them losing Holland. Um, but really fast safety, ran a 4.5 in the 40s. So Malachi is someone that I think we possibly could target if we traded back. I don't see him picking the top 8. But Malachi isn't my favorite safety in this draft. If we're going to get a safety, I would like Nick Emenwori. This guy to me is like Kyle Hamilton from the Ravens, or dare I say Cam Chancellor. This guy is an elite athlete, physical freak. So he is 6'3", 220 pounds. He has rare combination of size, speed, and explosiveness. He ran a 4.38 at the 40-yard dash at the combine. He had the highest vertical jump at 33 inches at the combine across all positions. He had a broad jump 11 feet 6 inches. Again, best at the combine at all positions. And he's only 20 years old. He has really good feet. His hip switch, like the way he moves his hips, is very fluid and smooth. He accelerates quickly. He is great in coverage. He has good ball skills, and I think he could play free safety, strong safety, or even nickel. So he's really versatile. Some weakness I saw on tape. I'd like him to be a little more physical at the point of attack due to his size. Just same thing with Malachi Starks. I like them to be a little bit more meaner, a little bit more physical, which I think can definitely be taught. In Evero's, uh, you know, scheme and like, the coaches. I feel like they can really get this guy to play a little more physical, which he can. He's just a big guy. Uh, I didn't see too many punishing hits on tape. He can tackle. When I was looking at tape, he can tackle a little too low at times, which I think could lead to potential missed tackles at the next level. But this guy, again, I think will be top 10, 15. But I think he will be picked before Malachi, in my opinion. But this guy, if we traded back and we went to like 12 or something, we got this guy, bro. I'm all in. This guy's a freak. I'm all about best player available. Now, as far as like where we are, where we're picking in the draft, like best player available to me isn't just like who's the best player, but what position is going to impact the game more for you as well. I think there's a lot of measurables to what's best player available. Obviously, a big part of that is who's a better player. But position, I feel like it matters as well. And we do need safety. So I would not be mad at this at all if we drop back. I think he's a little too rich at 8. I wouldn't be totally mad at it, but if we traded back and allocated more draft picks than we picked this guy, I'm happy. Another player that we had an interview with is edge James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. So James is 6'5", 242 pounds with 32 and three-quarter inch arms. He has the height and the reach to disrupt passing lanes and engage blockers. Uh, his lean build offers room to add muscle, which I feel like he will grow into. He's a little bit smaller for an edge. I would like him to be like another 10, 15 pounds bigger. Um, he's fast and explosive. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, which is the fastest among defensive line at the combine. Uh, he does have, in my opinion, high pass rush upside. So this is a guy that um, you can really get after the quarterback, and I feel like can develop and become even more of a disruptor in developing a lot of hurries and sacks and hits on the quarterback. But he had 7.5 sacks and 10 QB hurries last season. And back in 2023, he had 9.5 sacks. He has great bend and flexibility around the corner. Pairing that with a developing spin move and swipe technique, making him a nightmare for tackles, especially slower offensive tackles. But this guy has a high motor. I know a lot of people are high on this guy. I'm one of them. Again, this is someone I would not be mad at us picking at 8. Um, he can struggle against the run, but by not setting the edge, uh, which again, everyone would fix. While he can convert speed to power at times, he lacks the raw physical strength to consistently bull rush and overpower bigger tackles. Again, he's roughly 243 pounds, and he is considered undersized as an edge defender. Um, and so I would like him to add another 15 pounds or so, but he'll get bigger. Uh, he's not as effective tackling elusive quarterbacks, and ball carriers occasionally missing. I can see him being picked again in the top 10, but not. But him, I really don't see him getting past 15. Uh, I mean, I think it'll be even earlier than that, but this guy's a top 10, top 15 pick in my opinion. The other player that we talked to that some people are high on is Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. So Shamar is 6'5", 267 pounds. He's an elite athlete, especially for his size. He has extraordinary physical attributes for his size. He has raw power and strength. His ability to convert speed into power is a standout trait that I've seen in his tape. When he engages offensive linemen, he can generate significant knockback, collapsing pockets and disrupting plays with his bull rush or stab moves. He has a really long wingspan, over 80 inches, and that's going to enhance his ability to stack and shed blockers. His run defense, he excels at setting the edge, really good in run defense by maintaining gap integrity. He has a high ceiling. He's only 21. He's really durable. I don't think there's been any injury concerns that I've read, and shows consistent effort. He does have limited production, though. This is what I feel like there's a big knock on him, especially with like Panther fans kind of comparing what edge they would like. He's had 4.5 sacks over 3 seasons. Very underwhelming for a player with his physical profile. Uh, while he had 39 pressures, um, last season, but his inability to finish the play, I think, raises questions. I think it more of it shows like he isn't as polished as a pass rusher as some fans and some scouts would like to see. I don't see us picking him in the top 8. I think he's going to be like 20s, early 20s. Um, but I just think he isn't polished. He could be inconsistent at his base. He struggles to maintain balance against double teams, or when his pad levels rise, that can lead him. I've seen being washed out of plays and also missing tackles. Again, due to him being raw, he may contribute he may not contribute the way you like a top 10 pick would right away. That's why I don't think he'll be in the top 10. Um, Again, I really see him being in the 20s. So, and a lot of people are high on him because he has high upside based on his physical ability, but you want to, especially if you're picking top 10, us picking an 8, you want a guy that shown that he can get to the quarterback. And so I just don't see us picking him an 8 unless we fall back or for some reason he falls, second round, then maybe we trade up and get him or something, but I just don't see it at 8. I really don't. I think I would be furious if we got him at 8. I think he can be a good player, but not at 8. Another player that we had a formal meeting with was Gators defensive tackle Cam Jackson. So Cam Jackson, he huge guy, 6'6", 328 pounds. He showed up 10 pounds lighter than his listed weight. He has 35-inch arms, long arms that help him maintain leverage. He's really good at maintaining gap integrity, getting his hands up when the QB throws the ball. He's had several batted passes. He's really good in run defense. He's good at getting off his blocker and making the tackle. He plays very strong and physical. He's versatile where he can play nose, but which is where he primarily plays at, or he can even play three technique. Um, he has some limited pass rush ability. He's only had 3.5 sacks at 46 games. This is going to be more of a run defense guy, like just again setting the gap, like having good gap integrity. He's not really someone that's going to get after the quarterback. Endurance is a factor that I saw on tape. He wears down on long drives. To me, he isn't an every down player. I think he's more of a defensive run player. Um, he has a slow get off. His initial burst is really underwhelming. He lacks the athleticism and agility needed to chase down plays outside of the box or recover when he's out of position. I think he will be a mid to late round prospect. I think he would be picked up in the fourth round, but see him lasting as long as the sixth round. Um, I wouldn't be. This is someone I wouldn't be mad about us getting. I think this is someone that could be better than Shy Tuttle. Um, Again, like maybe we can work on him with refining his pass rushing skills. But this is a guy that you would ever wants someone that's going to set the edge and good at run defense and having gap integrity. Then he works on you with the rest. This is someone I really think that we could possibly draft in the later round, but I don't see him being like a second or third round pick. I think it'll be like fourth, fifth, or sixth. But this is someone I would not be mad about us getting later round. Another Gator that we had an interview with was linebacker Shamar James. So Shamar James, he's 6'1", 222 pounds. He had 64 tackles this last season with 34 solos, placing him second in tackles on the team. He had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 3 pass breakups. Best game of the season was when Florida upset LSU 27-16, where he recorded 11 tackles and 2 sacks that game. So the 2 sacks he had for the season were the 2 sacks against LSU. He did earn Player of the Week honors. In 2023, the last 4 games of the season, he did have a dislocated patella, which required surgery. But he recovered and played the whole season last season. But there is that injury concern. He's very versatile. He can drop in coverage, whether it's zone or man, which I still think he can improve upon, and he can blitz. He's very athletic. He's fast and can cover sideline to sideline. He has a quick first step. He's a very physical tackler. His competitiveness shows on tape. Uh, his size, he does need to add weight to his frame. Tackling consistently, uh, he does need to work on doing that and has missed tackles in open space. I did see on tape. And he needs, in my opinion, he does need to be able to diagnose plays faster. And I think that'll improve as he plays and develops, in the NFL. But really good physical player, good leader. I think this will be more of a fourth round grade player, and someone that again I would not be mad at us signing. I really think he can contribute and add depth to our linebacker room. But so this is someone we possibly could target. We also interviewed Sam Brown Jr. So Sam Brown, receiver for the Miami Hurricanes. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He had 52 receptions for 706 yards and 6 touchdowns. Um, his frame, he already has physical tools for the next level. He's explosive for his size. He runs a 4.48, very fast for his size. He has good ball skills. He has really strong hands, has a jump ball capability. His vertical jump was 41.5 inches, tied for the highest among wide receivers at the combine and second highest overall. Some weaknesses, route running needs to be polished, but I do see that improving. He kind of to me has the same route capabilities, route tree as XL did coming out of college. Uh, he doesn't have that top end speed. On tape, I noticed the Hurricanes love to use him in screenplays. I didn't see consistent quick acceleration that I would like to see when you have the ball in your hands in space with those screens. He isn't a great separator. I see him being a day three pick, in my opinion, round five, maybe round four, but I think he'll definitely be our day three guy. Um, uh, he kind of has the same physical tools as like a Jalen Cook or an XL. So same type of skill set, but just not as good. So someone we possibly can target here. One guy that I would actually be kind of stoked to get, but I don't know if we would get this guy. Cam Skattebo. So Cam is played for ASU. He's a running back. He's 5'9" and a half, 219 pounds. He had 267 carries for almost 1,400 yards and 19 touchdowns in 13 games played. At the combine, his vert jump was tied for second for running backs at 39.5 inches. Broad jump was tied for sixth among running backs at 10 feet, 10 foot three. Scadaboo did elect to skip drills at the combine, like the 40-yard dash, 10-yard split, and three cone drill, which to me makes sense because he isn't a speed guy, like a quick accelerating guy. Um, I'll take that, not quick accelerator, but like he's not a top end speed guy. He's more of a power guy. He's really physical and tough. He constantly is breaking tackles and fighting for extra yardage. He's explosive. He bursts out of cuts and accelerates quickly. I think he accelerates quickly to his top speed. It just doesn't have very fast top speed. He's versatile. He can catch out in the backfield as well. Last season, he had 45 receptions for 605 yards and three touchdowns. And he does in tape. I did see him have good patience behind the blocker, so he's a good running back. Again, though, he doesn't have the top end speed. Uh, I feel like that's why he declined again to do the 40-yard dash to the combine. There was some concerns with pass blocking. Um, I think he will be slightly scheme dependent. He relies on power over finesse, so spread offenses or zone heavy schemes may not be a fit for him. And I think this guy will be honestly like a second round pick, maybe a third round pick. But I think wherever he goes, that football team's getting a really good player. He is a football player. So if somehow we pick up this guy in like the third or fourth round, I'm not mad at this at all, at all. Someone, you know, we're not really we're not really desperate for a running back, but again, the draft is all about best player available, and this is a football player. So this guy, it was a lot of fun to watch in college. Another guy that we interviewed was offensive tackle Josh Connolly Jr. So he played left tackle at Oregon. He's 6'4" and a half, 311 pounds. He ran a 5.05 40-yard dash, um, which is pretty quick for offensive lineman his size. He ran his 10-yard split that he did was the fastest among offensive linemen. His vert jump was third amongst offensive linemen, and his broad jump was ranked near the bottom among offensive linemen, fourth to last. But he's very athletic for his size. He's very fluid. Lateral movement is really good and does well staying balanced. Pass protection, he does show quick feet and strong initial punch, allowing him to anchor against speed rushers. He does show awareness in picking up blitzes and maintain his assignment in pass sets. Uh, he has really good arm length. He's tough. He's known for playing through the whistle. He does bring a physical mindset to both run and pass blocking, finishing blocks with intensity. Um, his size, he's lighter for a tackle at 311, but I think he can add some weight to him. Um, he can struggle against bull rush bull rushes at times that I saw. Uh, his hand placement can be inconsistent at times, where his hands will be placed outside the defender, which can draw penalties. I like him to be a little bit meaner and really attack the defenders more so in the running game. I anticipate him being more of a mid first, early second round pick. This is someone where I think if they fall in the second round, could be your replacement Taylor Moton here, possibly. So um, I do think again, draft is all about getting best player available, and if this is your best player available and you're in your second round pick, you're picking 57 or 58, whatever it is, and you got a first round grade on this guy, and he drops in your lap. This could be the Taylor Moton replacement here. Very possible. Another tackle that we talked to was Marcus Imbo. So Marcus Imbo played offensive lineman for Purdue. He's 6'4", 309 pounds. His arm length is 33 inches and his hands are 10 3/8. He's very athletic and mobile for his size. His ability to pull effectively and move in space makes him a strong fit for schemes requiring linemen to get out in front in plays, such as outside zone or screen plays. He has quick feet and the ability to adjust his positioning smoothly. Um, yeah, this guy has large hand size and strong grip. Pause. Pause. But he's really versatile at right tackle. He played right tackle at Purdue and he played interior offensive lineman. So again, this could be someone that you can add for depth and can be a swing guy, but also possibly be someone that could be your Taylor Moon replacement. He's really good at recognizing stunts and twists. His arm length is slightly below average. He does show inconsistent leverage and anchor against powerful bull rushers at times. There are injury concerns. Back in 23, he had a season-ending injury after just 2 games where he fractured his leg. Um, this guy I could see maybe a second rounder, third round maybe, but again, like I think someone that could, wouldn't hurt. Keep a strength of strength. To you can add this guy to your offensive line room, and possibly again can be a Taylor Moton replacement. Another player that we interviewed, Darian Porter. So Darian Porter, I'm really high on this guy for corner. Um, and I'll tell you the round I think he'll be selected at. But this guy, I would love to have in the later round. Um, Played at Iowa State. He has elite size and strength. He's really tall for a corner. It's almost 6'3", 195 pounds. He has long arms. His hand size is slightly below average for a corner, but just a big, strong physical corner. His height and reach allow him to match up against taller receivers, disrupting passing lanes and contest catches at the high point, making him a nightmare for smaller slot targets or bigger outside threats. Um, he ran 4.3 for the 40. Um, his 10-yard split was 1.49 seconds. He has explosive acceleration, critical for press coverage and reacting off the line. um, he can recover quickly, stick with deep threats, and close gaps on underneath routes. He's had 5 blocked kicks on special teams this past season. 5. He reads plays really well. He has good ball skills, and he's praised for his work ethic and character by coaches. So good locker room guy. But he's only had 1 full season as a starting corner. He has some hip fluidity movement concerns, sometimes struggle with quick twitch transitions. He can be stiff when flipping hips to turn and run with shifty receivers on double moves or breaks, possibly could struggle early against slot receivers. His tape shows occasional arm tackles rather than wrapping up securely. I think he'll be more of a second round pick, possibly a third. He could be a day 2, day 3 pick. But if we can get this guy in the third, I'm not mad at him, man. This guy, I really am high on this guy. I really, really like Darian Porter. Oh, did I have the slide on here the whole time? Okay, Trey Amos. So Trey Amos is offensive. He played for Ole Miss, corner for Ole Miss. He's 6'1", 190 pounds. He is a prototypical size for an NFL corner. He has 50 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 3 interceptions, 13 passes deflected. He's a really aggressive at the catch point. He ran a 4.43. He does have speed. He excels in press coverage. He uses using quick feet, good hand placement, and he's really physical, jamming receivers and dictating their release. Um, his balance and patience in these situations stood out on film. He's good in man and zone defensive schemes. He's a good tackler and accelerates at the line of scrimmage. Takes on blocks with his hands and shows bounce out of flat-footed reads to support against the run. He's highly, highly competitive. He's only had one full season as a starter. He's raw. Um, his transitions from backpedal to sprint can be inconsistent at times. He occasionally loses leverage due to eye discipline issues. Against bigger runners, he will try to arm tackle at times. He can struggle with maintaining and staying disciplined in off-man situations where his aggressiveness may lead to separation on quick breaking routes. Can struggle with shifty receivers. Same thing with Darian Porter. I think he'll be a possibly second, third round, maybe a fourth rounder, but I see him be more of a day two pick. Again, this is someone I would not be mad at getting at all. We interviewed Jay Higgins from Iowa. So Jay Higgins, he's a linebacker. He is 6 foot, 226 pounds. He had 124 tackles, one sack, 11 pressures, two forced fumbles, four interceptions, and five passes deflected. He's 6 foot, what did I say, 224 pounds. His 40-yard dash was 4.82, which was the slowest among linebackers. Um, the guy has really good football instincts and awareness. He reads plays and diagnoses them quickly. He is a sure tackler. He has really good technique. He's good in zone coverage again, four interceptions. He's really good with communicating to the defense on the field with adjustments. He's very consistent. The weaknesses, however, with him is he's not athletic and explosive at all. He's good in zone, but can become a liability in man with his lack of speed. His ceiling is really low. I'd see him being a late day two or early day three pick. I think third or fourth round is where he'll go, maybe fifth round. Um, I don't know if I really want this guy at third. I think if he was in the fifth round, I'd take him, but I do think, like, due to him being consistent with tackling, I think he could be a solid, you know, contributor, at least like a death piece for a team. But right now, for us, with where we're at with linebacker, I would, unless he was like a fifth round pick, I don't know if I want to draft him. To be honest with you. So linebacker Colin Oliver from Oklahoma State. We actually had our linebackers coach AC Carter and Peter Hansen meet with the linebacker. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. He's very athletic and quick. He has speed to go sideline to sideline and chasing plays behind the line of scrimmage. He ran a 4.56, ranking him second among edge rushers and sixth among linebackers. His 10-yard split was second among edge rushers and 11th overall among linebackers. The vertical jump ranked him third among edge rushers and fifth overall in the testing group. Um, his broad jump ranked third among edge rushers and fifth overall. His athletic score was 80 out of 100, which was fourth among edge rushers. He's very versatile. He can play edge and or outside linebacker. I think outside linebacker for 3-4 or and sorry, edge rusher for 3-4 or outside linebacker for 4-3. Um, so if he did play in every scheme, I think it'd be more edge rusher. Um, I don't know. I could see him being an edge. Actually, I can see him being an edge rusher or linebacker. I don't know. Um, I don't know if I see him fitting in this scheme or not. But I like him because he plays very physical. He's able to get off the blocks really well. Um, but if he does play edge rusher, he would definitely be really undersized. So I mean, I think he would be a really good physical linebacker. I think he probably fits better in a 4-3, to be honest with you. I believe he'll be more of a mid-second, early third round pick. Um, I just don't know where he would fit at because 6'2", 220. I guess he'd be more linebacker. Like he would compete more with like Trevin Wallace and Josie Jewell versus like Jadeveon Clowney, actually. Um, but I don't, wouldn't be mad at it. Wouldn't be mad at it. Another guy that we talked to, kicker Andres Borregales. So Andres was a kicker for the Hurricanes. He finished this past season with almost a 95% field goal percentage, 18 out of 19. He was 7 for 7 for kicks that were 20 to 29 yards. He was 4 for 4 for kicks for 30 to 39 yards. He was 5 of 6 for kicks from 40 to 49 yards and 2 for 2 for 50 plus. His longest kick he made this season was 56 yards, and he was perfect for extra points. People always, I was talking to someone about this. People, I don't know why they when people say, "Oh, like don't draft him," you pick him up as an undrafted free agent. Bro, if this guy is that good, why would we not draft him in the 7th round where they like really good kickers go? If he's that good, what are you gonna get a guy that's going to maybe compete for a depth piece or be in the practice squad or someone that's probably not gonna play on the team? Give me a good starting kicker. We don't Eddie Pinera's gone. Give me Andres Borregas. I'm on board with this guy. Uh, I would not be mad at drafting him in the 7th round. If for some reason you know you can get him as an undrafted free, or undrafted player, sure. But I would send in the car for a 7th round pick to get a kicker that's that good. Just saying. Okay, a couple more here. We interviewed Dion Walker. So Dion Walker is a massive interior presence. This guy is 6'7", 331 pounds. This is that he was measured at that at the combine. He has 34-inch arms. He had a total of 66 pressures the past 2 seasons, combined with 12 and a half tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks. He earned first team all SEC honors despite facing constant double teams. He was dominant in the 2023 film. When I was watching this guy, he was dominant, and he was actually considered first round. He was considered a first round pick at the beginning of the 24 season, but he really hasn't met expectations this past season. He didn't look good in his 2 Senior Bowl practices. He had 240 times that were clocked at 528 and 539. His bench press was 22 reps. His vert was 25 inches, and his broad jump was 8'8", which both jumps were the second worst of all defensive tackles that have participated. Now, rumors are that he may not be taken until the 3rd round, possibly 2nd round pick. Um, if you can get this guy into his 2023 form, this guy is a disruptor in the middle. He's really able to put pressure on the QB. He plays physical. He uses his hands. He can spin off the defender. He really plays really fast for his size, and he has a high motor. Like this guy is a dog. Uh, but in 2024, partly due to a spinal fracture he played through, he's expected to make a full recovery. Um, Even so, his ability to command attention from blockers helped his teammates shine. But his 2024 tape, he doesn't look as explosive and mean as his 2023 tape. It could very well be due to his injuries. He's versatile enough where he can play nose tackle or defensive end in every scheme, in my opinion. But I think this will be more of a. I wouldn't be mad at this kid in the 3rd round. Because 2024, you could really see a difference. When I was watching film on this guy, you can see a difference where he was there was no thinking. He attacked and was extremely physical. In the 2024 film, he was kind of like hesitant with plays. Like he still made some plays, but he was not as dominant as the film was in 2023. So I think like I don't know if there's something in his head or the injury like kind of got to him. I don't know, but this guy does have the tools to be dominant, to be a good player in this league. 6'7", 331, guy's huge. But if we got him in the 3rd round, I'm happy, man. This guy can play, yeah, adding good quality depth to the defensive line. I would not be mad at it, not at all. Then the other guy that we interviewed was Warren Brinson, defense tackle from Georgia. So this guy is 6'4", 315 pounds. He's a prototypical size for a defensive tackle. He does have quick hands and a strong initial burst. He's very athletic. He ran a 5.09, which is respectable in the 40. He was ninth among defensive linemen at the combine. But his RAS score, which I know some people don't like RAS because of Matt Rule, but was 9.34. Very high, very athletic player. Um, he's only had 4 sacks, and he's been playing Georgia for 5 years. Not good. So he is not someone that's getting after the quarterback. You don't see him really impacting the game on film, to be honest with you. This is more of a developmental player. In my opinion, he'll be drafted like sixth or seventh round. Um, again, you know, I want us to be able to get people that have the physical tools and we're able to develop players. But this guy is someone that you wouldn't expect to get until later rounds. So didn't really impact it that much. Um, But yeah, so we'll see what we do in the draft. I think the closer it gets, we'll get a really good idea of like, you know, where our team is right now. Like there's still possibilities you could make some signings after the draft, but not really. Um, I still think that edge rusher and safety are I think edge rusher, safety, and then receiver are the biggest needs right now. Um, sorry. But I do think again the draft is all about best player available. Um, I'm gonna make another video that just talks about like different scenarios, like who I would like, like just running scenarios, like as far as first, our first round pick, um, some guys that I think will be there, or hopefully that would be there. Mason Graham's one of them. We already talked about a couple of them, but we'll kind of dive into each position group, um, and then kind of give you the top 5, top 10 of that position, who my top 5 or 10 are, and, where I think they may be drafted at, just so that way, I wanna be able to kinda get used to and see and study the film like I've with these guys because, uh, if we're interview them, there's obviously they're interested. So I wanna, I really watch the film, with these guys and, I'm not a big film guy, I'm really into sports, but, I feel like I have a really good eye test for talent. Um, uh, I'm not always right. I don't think I am, but I think I'm pretty good. Um, even if it's not the popular pick, don't care. I'm gonna give you my opinion on it. Um, I know people, kind of talk about receiver. A lot of people on Twitter like want us to put Tech McMillan. I'm sorry, the guy isn't top 10 worthy. I think there's other receivers better than him. To be honest with you, I think there's two better than him. Um, again, I'll go over that more in detail, but I want to talk about it a little bit real quick where, people just want to pick someone just to pick someone, you know, I'll kind of tell you why I'm not on that, like the Tet train. I think Tet's a good player. Now, if we pick Tet at 8, I think that he makes our receiver room better. Of course he does. But we already have that skill set. We already have a big player. I get that Ted's 6'4", 6'5". Jalen Walker 6'3". XL is only 6'1". I get he's a little bit bigger, but their skill sets are the same. You have two receivers that are 6'1", 6'3", that are physical and strong, but we don't have a speedster. And people are just like, you need to pick a receiver, you need to pick a receiver. Bro, like Ted doesn't have great separation. Like he's not a burner. I'm not again like he's a good player, but to me, I need a better skills. I need a different skill set on the team. Now if he depending on if we traded back and we got him at like 15, 13, 14, 15, okay. And I really don't think I think he's gonna be out of the top 10 to be honest with you. I don't think he's a top 10 pick. I really don't think so. And I think he ran like a right under a 4.5 at his pro day. So your game film doesn't lie. Your game film shows that you can't outrun, players. You run fast for your size. Yes, I understand that, but you're not a Mike Evans, dude. You're not a great separator. On film, you're not a great separator. And this is just more of me talking to the Panther fans that love Ted McMillan. Have you guys watched the tape on him? Honestly, besides the highlight reel? Just saying. Even Steve Smith, I believe, came out and said that Ted is number one. And I get like not everyone's perfect. Like he's not perfect with wide receiver rankings. I get it. He liked Mingo, but he was right with a lot of other ones too. He is a soon to be Hall of Famer. I think he knows what he's talking about. But I just want to rant a little bit with that because yes, we need a receiver, but do we need to reach for one? No. Can we get a good solid receiver at the second and or the third round? Yes. If we trade back and pick up a receiver, I'm cool with that, but I'm not cool with any receiver at 8. Any. I'm good with edge. Even tight end. Like I know there's some things about Tyler Warren. Like he always the next George Kittle. I would like to have the next George Kittle. You know, I mean, would I be mad at it? I would be more mad at Ted at 8 versus Tyler Warren at 8. I will say that. So when it gets closer, I still think we possibly make another move with the receiver. We'll see. I don't think we're in the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes right now. We were with the T Higgins sweepstakes. The Bengals paid for him, re-signed him, so we're out of that. But even Brandon Ayuk, I get he's better player than XL or Jalen Walker, but what am I willing to give up for him in trade draft capital and pay for the same skill set that you? I don't understand it. I don't know. Maybe I just think differently. I don't know. I feel like I have common sense. I feel like some people just don't think logically. I try to think logically and say, okay, we have two players that are coming their second year. We have Adam Thielen that's going to be gone next year. I think he's going to retire next year. I think David Moore won't be here next year. Yes, we need to add talent and we need to add players to the receiver room. 100% agree, but not at 8. It's not happening. I'm in Booker right now. It's not happening. At 8, we are not getting a receiver. We're getting a receiver either we trade back in the first round or in the second round. It's not happening at 8. Telling you right now. Telling you right now. Now, again, if for some reason it happens and Ted's picked at 8, that makes us better. I would just disagree with him picked at 8 because a first round pick, especially in the top 10, I don't care what your need is. You pick best player available because that person is going to be a blue chip player if you pick correctly, a blue chip Pro Bowl player for you for the next 5 years minimum. You draft players to build your team. You get your needs in free agency. Now, if a need and not a need, and you're drafting, you have two players that are ranked equal, and one of them is a need, the other one isn't, then yeah, you probably go for the need. That makes sense. But the draft is meant to it's just to build your team. It's not to fill holes. It's not. I don't believe in that. And I don't think Dan Morgan believes in that either. So, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to speak more about that. I just want to kind of give my little 2 cents on it. So I see all this stuff on Twitter and just wanted to talk about it with you guys. But hope you liked the video. Give it a like, subscribe. I'm going to try to make it again. I've been doing like once a week, but I want to be able to do it twice a week. So I like to do it Mondays and Thursdays or Mondays and Wednesdays. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you liked or disliked about it, what you would like to for me to talk about, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.